Hello everyone, welcome to Perseverance IAS. Today is July 22, 2021. The following are the important articles to be read in the Hindu newspaper. Again, it's July 22nd, 2021. The first article is 10 PM's WHO chief staffer, Telegram founder targeted. Again, this is in regards to the Pegasus scandal that is unraveling around the world. Again, you have to read this for simple sake of understanding what is going on and trying to be abreast of every update that is happening. See, um, I cannot for sure say whether this will have an impact on any question in mains or prelims. See, since India or the Indian government is kind of accused of using this spyware, there might be a potential chance of a question either in prelims or in mains, right? In maybe in regards to science and technology, or it may be in regards to the polity aspect of it, or the constitutional aspect of it, or the legality aspect of it. So that is why we are reading anything that is related to Pegasus. It is the same thing with anything related to Afghanistan. So that is why we read related articles to get an understanding of what is going on in regards to the spyware Pegasus saga that is unfolding in front of us right now. Now, moving on to the next article, 1.2 lakh Indian children lost caregivers study. Again, this is the impact of COVID 19, particularly the second wave of COVID 19, where we saw children being orphaned because either one of their parents have died or both of their parents lost their lives sadly. So from that perspective, you have to read it because Supreme Court has given multiple directions to various state governments and the union government in regards to this. That's why we read anything related to this particular issue of children losing or being orphaned because of COVID-19. From that perspective, please do read this article. Now, moving on, government delays release of data. Again, you have to read the information behind this article. This article talks about electoral bonds. You kind of have to read about electoral bonds. What are the issues with electoral bonds? Why were electoral bonds were bought in the first place? And you have to read it from that perspective. Majority of the article might not help you, but what helps you is reading behind the article. So I would suggest you go back, make some time, and kind of read everything about electoral bonds so that it will help you in two answers. One is in regards to electoral bonds altogether, and the second is weeding out corruption from elections also, because yesterday we discussed an editorial or an article where the Supreme Court was angry with certain parties for not declaring criminals in their candidates or criminalization of politics. So from that perspective, if you can, please do link up this article with that article and try to make an answer as to how to make Indian elections more fairer, more cleaner, and more genuine or honest in the sense. Genuine and honest is not a right word to put in an answer, but to make them more cleaner. Right? Corruption is one thing that Indian polity suffers from. So please do read this article and yesterday's article from that perspective. Now moving on to page number 6, editorial dealing with a denial. Again, this is in regards to the recent case where state government started making certain statements regards to the deaths that were as a result of COVID-19. So from that perspective, please do read this article. Now coming to the little bit of an important article, India must directly engage with Taliban 2.0. So this article becomes significant because there are currently two thoughts or two streams of thoughts in India. One is one group of people are asking for Indian government to engage with Taliban directly. The second group of people are asking Indian government not to engage with Taliban directly and have to support Afghan government at any cost. So since we write a balanced answer, or we try to write a balanced answer until and unless ask for our opinion, we need to have an understanding of both sides of the argument. So this article will give you the other side of the argument, meaning the side of the argument as far as why we need to engage with Taliban. As I said, two groups. One is against it, one is for it. So this article is for engagement of Indian government with Taliban. So understand that perspective. Please do read this article and try to understand why the author of this article is saying why India should engage with Taliban. What essentially this gives you is a two-side perspective of the current scenario. So I would suggest you read this article. Now moving on, a cardinal omission in COVID-19 package. Again, this is an observer standpoint of view article. The first thing that I would suggest is try to concentrate on workforce shortages of this article. Why India suffers from human resources in medical field. What are the challenges there? What should be the solution? Are we sacrificing quality for the sake of quantity? Is kind of the argument that we have to give or try to make in terms of medical human resources or healthcare human resources. So from that perspective, please do read this article. Now moving on to the next article, a compromise amid uncertainty. Again, this is an op-ed article. This is may not be related to any of our situation, but one thing this will help you is it will give you an understanding of why oil prices are high currently in India and around the world. What is the polity or what is the struggle that is going on between oil producing countries and other oil producing countries in the world, and this will give you an answer as to, it will give you a clear picture of what is actually happening in the oil producing countries, and as a result of it, why oil prices are high in the world. So I would suggest you read this article to get a basic understanding of the entire situation. As far as the examination perspective, I don't think this is that important. Now moving on to page number 8, lightweight anti-tank missile tested by DRDO. Again, this is a prelims perspective question. Find out the name of the missile, find out the the details surrounding the missile and who developed it, where it was developed. Again, lightweight anti-tank missile tested by DRDO. Now moving on to the next article, India signed 26 pacts to fight drug menace. So what are these bilateral issues? What is the drug trade issue in India? Which are the states that are affected by drug menace in India? How significant this problem is? Are there any legislations that are acts that support fight against drugs in India? From that perspective, please do read this article. Now moving on to page number 9, J&K begins issuance of domicile certificates to non-local spouses. This is again an informative article. Please do read it from that perspective alone and try to find what is the procedure or rules that they came up with, so that in case in any kind of question is asked, you are covered for it. Now moving on to page number 10, government delays release of electoral bond. Again, we read the backstory of electoral bond. That is why I highlighted this article, just to remind you that please do read everything and anything about electoral bond scheme, because elections are coming up in the next coming few months. That is why elections are in for a right. So anything that is related to elections might catch the attentions of competitive government exam planners. So that is why we read anything related to elections. Now moving on to page number 13, that is world. UK wants new trade deal for Northern Ireland. Now you read this to understand what is the problem that United Kingdom is facing or British Isles is facing with the European Union after Brexit, and why UK wants a deal with Northern Ireland. There is a little bit of clarity that you need to get to give a perfect nuanced based answer. Remember, this might not be asked in any mains or prelims, but they might ask you in interview, because these kinds of things are asked to check our awareness about what is going on around the world. So this is something that people might not concentrate on, because the post Brexit implications on UK have been huge and they are struggling with it on a daily basis. So that's why we read this article from that perspective. Please do read this article. Now moving on to next article, climate cooperation depends on overall ties, China tells US. Now China is spearheading their own kind of parameters as to what type of pollution parameters that they have to follow, and they are trying to upend the Americans from standardizing climate change norms. Listen carefully. Currently, whatever the climate change norms that are being followed by countries in the world are directly or indirectly set by American, right? US along with other international organizations and other countries came out with the standards. According to those standards, China is the highest polluter among all other countries. Now, what China is doing is, in order to protect its own industries, they are also coming out with their own standards of pollution norms and regulations, and they are trying to compete with the Americans. And now they are saying that Overall ties will only help Chinese cooperation in climate fight. Hope you understood that. From that perspective, please do read this article. Now, Taliban in defense status during Eid holiday. Now, again, you read this to get an understanding of what is going on. Timeline of events. Try to make a short note. So don't get into making heavy or big notes about this. Try to keep it a simple one page or a half page notes as to what is the timeline of events that have been happening since 1 year or 2 years in Afghanistan. Now, as far as the next article, UNESCO strips Liverpool of its World Heritage status. My suggestion would be that you read what are the parameters for a place to be awarded with the UNESCO status or World Heritage status, and why or what would lead a place to lose its World Heritage tag. From that perspective, please to understand both sides of these things. Now, moving on to page number 14, IBB amends insolvency rules to help improve transparency. Again, with the given financial condition and with the role of NPAs in this financial condition, you read everything regarding the insolvency and bankruptcy code or anything that is related to that process. So, you read this article from that perspective. Now, these are the important articles that one would read for any competitive exams in the newspaper. So again, thank you. Once again, I request you to subscribe, share, comment, like, and thank you for your support. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all the best for your preparation.